For Splonator.com, I'm Noobs. Well folks, it's E3 2016. As a matter of fact, Nintendo's live stream just wrapped up, so I think I've got for you guys the full story as far as Nintendo goes this year. A little disappointing to find out that in addition to everything else they cut out this year, Nintendo's also not doing a third day on the live stream. But, guys, have you seen this game? Alright, let's talk about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yeah, it's an odd title. I'm still getting used to it. I'm going to trip up on it in this video today. But you know what? I think the title makes sense based on what we've seen so far. I mean, you are absolutely out there in the wild as Link. Let's discuss what we've seen of the game. So obviously this is a big shift, almost a genre shift for Zelda. It's basically an open world game. Interestingly enough, as much as it may be reminiscent of other modern open world games, what the developers have cited a number of times, and I think this is quite clear, is they went back to the original Zelda game for inspiration. And you know, that's something I think Zelda's needed for a long time. Zelda fans are all too familiar with how formulaic the games have become, especially these, you know, the third-person 3D games. So it's great to see them totally changing things up. This is as big a change for the series as Ocarina of Time was when they made the leap to 3D. So, wow, it's so exciting, it's so fresh, it's something totally different for the Zelda franchise. I'm pumped. So, as far as I can tell, you just wake up in this game in some kind of holding chamber. You've been like asleep for 100 years. They wake you up. You wake up nearly naked and just start. You open some chests, put on some clothes, get out of the world, start finding stuff, start running into enemies, start talking to people. It all happens right away. No tutorial, no boring first village stuff. Very much like that first Zelda game. I'm excited. Even as the world's biggest Zelda fan, I'm ready for something totally different. So this is fantastic. Interestingly, in the trailer we heard a couple lines of dialogue from a narrator, female narrator. Maybe that was Zelda talking. Indicates that there is at least some voice acting in this game. The other NPCs we've seen have not been voice acted. Of course, Link himself is not voice acted. No surprise there. But very curious to see if maybe there's voice acting at least during, you know, major story cutscenes. Scattered out throughout the massive Hyrule we're looking at here are over 100 what are called Shrines of Trials. These act as sort of mini dungeons, I guess focusing on, you know, individual abilities or mechanics. We saw some very interesting new mechanics being unlocked by these in the demos we've seen. There's some like magnet you can use to move metal objects around, all kinds of crazy things. Oh, one, you can freeze time for individual objects in the game. Now, there was some concern there wouldn't be towns in this game, which was later refuted. It turns out those are just not in the demo for spoiler purposes. As well, there's been some concern that these mini dungeons would be it for dungeons, but we've heard there are full dungeons as well. As far as what you can do in this game, like, there are no limits, guys. It's crazy. I mean, we've all seen videos and GIFs and screenshots now of lighting grass on fire, rolling boulders down hills, cooking. There's a big focus on climbing. They bring back that stamina gauge from Skyward Sword, and that's kind of what limits you in your ability to climb, but you can scale large mountains if you figure out how. It's really unbelievable. As far as the setting, the story, the timeline, we don't know much. Again, Ganon is there. Link seems to have been brought back from an earlier time. Now, I did spot a Korok from Wind Waker running around in this game, which indicates to me this is probably in the Wind Waker timeline and much later, like post-flood, just based on the Korok origins. They're supposedly sort of evolved from the Kokiri Always curious to see where the latest Zelda game fits in the timeline. I'm glad to see they're not afraid to go to the latest point rather than always going backwards. Now we had heard rumors, aside from the voice acting rumor, supposedly there was going to be an option for a female Link we had heard. That has since turned out to be false. Link is such a blank slate for the character as is. I mean, traditionally you've been able to name him. So whether he's male or female, I don't see why that makes any difference. So that's the one disappointment in what has otherwise been a mind-blowing E3 for this new Zelda game. Super excited. Obviously this isn't coming till next year, hopefully March, but I think that's dependent on when they are finally ready to release NX, so we'll see. But certainly this has been the game of the show. It's gotten by far the most coverage across social media. People are totally enamored with this thing, super pumped about it, so it seems pretty promising. But let's talk a little bit about what else we saw from Nintendo this year. So over on 3DS, we've got a new Mario Party Star Rush coming November 4th. They also demoed Dragon Quest VII, Yokai Watch 2, of course Pokemon Sun and Moon, Monster Hunter Generations. Actually a new, looked like sort of an action-adventure or RPG with maybe some Animal Crossing elements called Ever Oasis. That's by Grezzo, the guys who did the Zelda remakes on 3DS. Paper Mario Color Splash was shown for, that's of course a Wii U game. Unfortunately, as great as the music sounds, as great as the graphics are, you know what, the battle mechanics are clearly still very much in the same vein as Sticker Star, which is a huge disappointment. I don't know why Nintendo's insisted on intentionally making this series worse when they had such a great formula for it back with the original and then Thousand Year Door. Very disappointing there. So that's too bad. Here's a few other things we saw from Nintendo this year. A bunch of new amiibos are coming along with the new Zelda game. We've got Archer Link and Rider Link on a horse, as well as the Guardian sort of enemy from the game. That's huge, by the way. It's like overflowing on the little coin that you get. In addition, we've seen now what the Wolf Link amiibo does from Twilight Princess HD. If you scan that, you actually get the Wolf Link to join you in Breath of the Wild, and it'll run around with you and fight for you. So that's pretty cool functionality, I think. But then the biggest news of all, folks, yes, that's right. A whole bunch of new amiibo are coming for the Super Mario line of amiibo. These are also on November 4th. I'm sure they'll have some functionality with the new Mario Party. They're coming out on the same day. We are getting Wario, Daisy, Rosalina, Boo, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, and yes, Waluigi. Everybody's favorite gangly purple monster man is coming in amiibo form. I think that's pretty hard to resist. So going on right now and running through June 21st, there's a big eShop sale going on from Nintendo. That includes, by the way, lots of Zelda games. And shout out, yes, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past for the Wii U Virtual Console is on sale right now. It's only the greatest game of all time, folks. Might as well pick that up. Another speculated and rumored announcement that we have not gotten is a Mother 3 Virtual Console release. There was a lot of expectation around that, so that's a disappointment. You know, really, I guess, what can we expect? We find these rumors and we get all hyped up for them, and we're disappointed when they don't happen. It's really not Nintendo's fault, I guess. But still would have been nice to see the old Mother 3 there. And that's about it from Nintendo for this year. So I guess the question now is, was this the right move for them? Now, I think ideally, I'm sure what they would have preferred, and certainly what I would have preferred, would be to have had the E3 they intended to have, where they have a big NX reveal and blowout and everybody's amazed. Obviously, I think it's quite apparent at this point that that was pushed back into next year. I'm sure they had different E3 plans, and this was a rush job to get this stuff together. So I think, considering what happened on that front, they did as well as they could have. Really, if you wrap all this news up, you probably could have gotten a decent Nintendo Direct out of it to put out rather than simply doing The brief introduction from Reggie, followed by all the demonstrations. But I think that's minor. Clearly, they had a very strong hand this year just with Zelda, and hey, they've managed to capture the gaming world's attention from what they've done on that front. So I think it's worked out about as well as they could have hoped. I just hope that we don't have much longer to wait before NX, because man, all of this Zelda stuff, like, I know it's a Wii U game as well as an NX game, but like, let's be realistic. NX is going to be the system to get that game on. I mean, that's certainly what I plan to buy it on. I would not be at all surprised if that ends up being the system it's released on first, or sort of the definitive edition of that game. Definitive. Much like Twilight Princess was on Wii. So, oh man, it's a tough wait, folks. It's a tough wait. Hey, just going to have fun, as much fun as you can with that Waluigi amiibo in the meantime. Let me know what you think of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and everything else from Nintendo at E3 this year. You think they had a decent E3 despite how little they had to work with? Would you have preferred something else? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.